find your own voice, lead from within. With me today is Rachel G, Kamal Ama. And how are you guys?
Good, thanks.
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Good, thank you. So our topic today is, what does it mean to live for yourself? And Rachel, please, you chose this topic. Could you please explain to our audience what it means? And for me, on my own side, I know I actually ask you to choose one of them because I know when you are on, the audience get to experience the actually going deep on what does it mean to love yourself, and what does it mean self-healing. And I thought if you choose one of these topics, the audience will benefit from it. But what was in your mind when you chose this one?
Well, it's kind of like what I decided to do for myself. So, for me, living for yourself means choosing a life that is one of responsibility, freedom, and fulfillment. And so, for me, that all sort of started when I wanted to live a life that was more aligned with what I valued, a life that would then be a life that I would love, and a life that I could look back on and be proud of. And so, for me, that really started to take a shift in, let's say, the right direction, as in living an aligned life with my values. Began the more I started loving myself and finding within me that love, that approval, that validation, and the confidence that I had really been yearning for all my life, but was seeking it in completely the wrong places. I was looking at it in other people to give to me. And happiness and fulfillment really are only truly felt when we choose to live for ourselves. And that living for ourselves needs to be built on a foundation of love and acceptance for oneself. And so for me, at the very heart of living a life for yourself, it's a mindset that understands that life is really too short to spend it living on someone else's path, or someone else's expectations, or someone else's needs. You've got to live for yourself, and it's not egotistical. It's actually a really healthy and crucial practice that everyone should be taking. And so that's why I chose the subject.
I like that. I like the points that you're making here about living yourself, living with your truth. I'm going to add one thing that we often forget to mention, and obviously we have to define it. It's living honestly. And that's what I believe it is to live for yourself. First of all, obviously being honest with yourself in all matters, and then it spreads in every part of your life. Honesty with others, honesty in your work and your dedication. And so by being honest, you do live with yourself. You do live by your rules, seeking those points that everybody's saying, everybody's doing, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. It becomes a bit harsh on us, causing us to be, like our mentor said, we're too harsh on ourselves. We forget to be kind to ourselves. And I believe that falls into the same, under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I'm excited to talk more about that.
No, it's completely the opposite, isn't it? To, like, if you're not living for yourself, you're basically doing it to live for everybody else. You're pleasing other people. And the reason why you're pleasing other people is because actually there's some motive underneath that you're trying to get. And like I said, for me, it was a validation and approval. I think for most people, that's probably what it is, because you want to feel like you belong somewhere. And so we start to actually take too much care about what other people think because of that. So that's why people live in their head a lot. because now they're always trying to think what another person might be thinking or feeling, or how they're going to react to something based upon what it is that they're going to give. So it's like, what if, and then when they don't get it back, that expectation isn't met, then you start to get that resentment. And so it's really quite unhealthy living for others. Always live for yourself.
Yeah, I like that. And what you were just saying here, it reminds me of something Oscar Wilde said, which was like, oh good God, most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions, and their lives a mimicry. Their passions a quotation. So it falls under that same thought of, well, being honest with yourself and living for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Am I muted?
No, you're on.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I think it's very, very important to actually to live your life how you want to live it. When Rachel, you're saying you lived your life before seeking other people's approval, I think we all have done it before. And you do things and you want people to praise you. If they don't praise you, that means whatever you do is not enough. Or the love that when someone doesn't tell you how much they love you, you believe that that's not love. And I think even when you are in a relationship, if you don't live your life how you should live, and you don't accept your life completely, no one will ever complete you. So it is very, very important, if anyone is listening, to actually, if they're struggling with loving yourself or living the life that you want. Myself, my father actually taught me how to live the life that I want. And I remember my family tried to actually direct me that way, but I was like, no, this is not who I am. This is my identity that I have chosen. And my identity means I'm going to live my life how I want to live my life. If I make mistakes, it is okay for me to make mistakes, but as long I have experienced that life, as long I have tried to do things, so that's how I live my life. I don't seek approval. I tried when I entered a relationship, when someone tries to control me, but I get so frustrated. And that's why sometimes I did find it really, really hard to connect with men, because I had my own issues. And also I had this problem of people trying to control and say, no, so you can't do this, you can't do that. If it's something that is going to harm me, yes, you can tell me that, Nomsa, give me some advice, let me get on with it, and I'm okay with that. But if it's something that, like when it comes to business-wise, and someone says, Nomsa, your dreams are too big or are too small, I always try my best to live the life that I want, even if it's gonna cause pain, even if it's gonna, I'm gonna fall. I always try. My mom knows. My mom just supports me with whatever I'm doing, and she knows that's how they raised us with my dad, that we need to live the life how we want. So even when I'm introducing her to like men, now my mind is more settled because I've sort of worked out the reason why my relationship couldn't last for a long time. If I introduce her to a man, she'll be like, oh, what happened to that one then? I'll be like, long story, until I worked on myself. And now I'm just me. Now I know how to live my life and how to actually control when it comes to relationship. I know I have to live for me. And even my children, and that's how I teach them the same. If they make decisions later on, I'll just put my hands up and say, I tried my best. That's all I can do. But I can't protect them and say, don't do this, don't do this. They've got to do it. And then they see the dangers of life. I'm just there as a coach.
Yeah.
Over to you, Rachel.
No, I think when we get into relationships, and we start off, in life quite early, maybe having relationships, that's the point where we can start to actually start living somebody else's script,
Yeah.
And following their script. What I mean by that is that, that you're investing time and energy into a life that is working towards things that may not be truly what you desire. It's what your partner desires. And then what happens is you're basically setting up this kind of feeding ground for you to have regret in the long term. So it's really important to ensure that you don't commit to someone. You might be committing into a relationship, but it doesn't mean you have to commit to what path that they are walking, that you have to walk on their path. You can walk next to their path, but not actually on it, and be completely off your own path. And I think that that's really important in relationships. But it's hard. It is hard because we've been wired basically to think that we need acceptance and validation from other people, to feel that we belong, because that's what we had in our relationships with our parents, right? We would do things and we would get praise, like, well done, good girl, good boy, whatever. And might even at school, I used to get a little gold sticker, and it would be, you're receiving something because you've been good, therefore you're getting that validation. And so it's not surprising that we find it difficult to then suddenly we've got to do it the reverse when we become an adult. And so, yeah, it's not an easy thing to necessarily wake up to the fact, I think. What do you think?
No, I'm very much with you. It's like we were talking about relationships, and it's extremely prevalent in relationships, in a lot of relationships that tend to not go the way that people want them to go, especially when we're talking about, oh, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice this a little bit just to please that person, and she will be happy, and then afterwards we can do this and that, and unfortunately it's never enough for that other partner, usually. I mean, it's not, it's we're talking here in generalizations. Yeah. And it causes you to really bury yourself under so many layers of acceptance, layers of validation, layers of fitting in, layers of, you know what, I want to be a good husband, I want to be a good wife, I want to be a good partner, and this is what is said, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And you keep pressuring all these needs and wants that you wish to have. At the end, it implodes, right? First it implodes and then it goes out, obviously. But that implosion internally is very dangerous and causes a lot of ruptures in relationships with people. Because you realize, for those that do realize it, you know what, that's not my life. Why am I walking on eggshells all the time? You find somebody else, a friend, obviously, you find a friend that is maybe single, and you find a more balanced connection, and then you start wondering, oh, should I go with that person now, because that is what I want? This person is accepting of who I am, is accepting of my needs and how I want to grow. And it's painful for a lot of people to go through that process of deciding and making that choice, that decisive choice of, you know what, that's enough. I want to split because it's not working for me.
Yeah.
And of course, there are kids, there are no kids. It's like, how is this going to affect this person or that person? How are people going to look at me? You're in a partnership, you're married. Oh, now I'm going to be divorced. My friends are my partner's friends, so now I don't have any friends. That's not true. You have different friends. You can go and look for more friends. You can be in a single parents group or friends, but it's that labeling as well that causes people to refuse the change and be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is scary in the beginning when you're wondering, when you have all these questions. All your questions, this question, you question that, you question this. Am I living my life? Am I living it for me? Am I living it for that person? what am I going to do after this is done? What is that person going to do? What is my partner going to do then? How will this survive? All these questions, they cause a ruckus in your head.
Yeah.
Becomes like my mom says, the ants in your head, non-stop.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, you think about it. You wake up, you think about it.
Yeah, and I think when you're also, I mean, it can happen in two different ways. If you're going through your own self-growth journey, it's the trauma that may be linked to abandonment. It's that idea that you need to take on everybody else's responsibilities to feel useful and needed. It's coming from there usually why we tend to go down and start living someone else's path. And so if you're on a self-growth journey and you start to do the work, it's going to wake you up to that understanding, and then that's when things start to shift and change, because you're changing how you relate with yourself. On the other hand, it can be that it's difficult and you're sitting in that ruminating and you're not really making a decision to go either way because you're not addressing those past traumas, because that's just another way of you being able to protect or defend yourself and keep yourself in that pattern. So it's very much linked to why we need to be working on ourselves and getting to know ourselves, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to live in yourself. Rachel, I agree with you. And Kamau, it means sometimes you're gonna have to make choices, and when you make those difficult choices, that gonna upset other people, because people, let's say sometimes people, they know you as someone who go to them and ask for their approval, but then when you get into personal development, you can't do that anymore. You have to actually make your own choices based on what you believe to be true about your destiny and the society. And if you go to church, they tell you this is how you need to behave, and you will find sometimes, like when somebody preacher is preaching, they're not actually preaching based on the Bible. They're actually preaching based on their own opinion, what they believe to be true. For me, when I go to church, but at the same time, I have to reference whatever I'm being told based on the scriptures. If it is more about the scriptures, we are good to go. But then if it's not, I'll have questions to ask, or sometimes I just have to actually look at my life first, because everything is within you. So you have to look at yourself and evaluate yourself. And living your life, it means you make your own choices without seeking approval from somebody else. Because like what we were saying at the beginning, when you start getting into a relationship, sometimes I understand, like sometimes as a couple, there are choices where you have to be somewhere on this date, and then you have to check with your other half if they are free on that day to come with you. It's like sometimes if I get an invitation and if my spouse is invited, I have to say, let me check with him. I can't make a decision for him and assume that he's gonna come if he doesn't want to come. So I have to say to somebody, I am available, but I'm going to speak to my spouse and check with him if he is available to come. But if he says no, that's fine. And sometimes even when we are in a relationship, you will find sometimes there are some men, they start behaving like their girlfriends or their wife or whatever, even if they are married, or wives, spouses start behaving like their wives or husband. And you ask them, why are you behaving like that? And they're like, my husband likes it when I wear this. My husband likes it when I do this. I'm like, okay. And or maybe you want to go out or you want to do something, they're like, my husband doesn't like it when I go out with him, without him. So I have to find out, I have to check it out. And I'm like, okay. So there are some things that sometimes when you live your life, it means even the person that you are dating, they have freedom, you have freedom. It's like myself, when I started dating Martin knew the rules. If he goes on stage and start dancing, he thinks the girls start flirting with him, he thinks I'm gonna go and rescue him, he'll be having a laugh. I'll just laugh at him until he get himself out of it. So I will not do that. And I'm like, so you're gonna have to get to know me. If you put yourself in that situation, you get yourself out. So I'm not gonna come and say, oh, he's with me. I'm just gonna sit there and laugh. And so he knew. And when somebody comes in and start dancing with him, he will dance. And then when this person start having the wrong ideas, and he'll be like, whoa. I'm not gonna rescue him. So that kind of life that I'm living, like to give somebody their own freedom, and I have my own freedom, as long we know that there are boundaries when it comes to life where you cannot cross. So, and that's we are good to go. So it is very, very important. Even if there are some people, like sometimes I need to ask you, Rachel, it's like living your life for yourself. If there is someone that is watching right now and they want to create the life that they want, but their spouse don't approve of it, what do they do?
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be more difficult the longer you've been in a relationship, to then start saying you want to set boundaries, and that you've got a different, you've woken up one morning and you say, hey, I want to do things differently. For the other person, that's going to come as quite as a shock. It's something you need to take, but you're going to have to realize that you might have mentally started to have a different idea about how you want to live your life, but your partner maybe is not yet on board, and they've got to go through that adjustment of you saying how you want things to maybe be different. So I would always, going into any new relationship from here on in, be very much more on the ball when it comes to what you do like, what you don't like, what you will accept, what you won't accept, pretty quick into a relationship, because the sooner you can have that conversation and get sort of like the main things that for you are non-negotiables out onto the table, rather than just seeing something happen and going, okay, I can just forget about that now because I'm in a honeymoon period, and I'll bring it up later, but then that later never comes because you keep pushing and pushing it. That's now, if you're in a marriage, it's basically what happened to me. I wasn't in a marriage, but I was in my relationship, that because I started to change, I wanted certain things to change and certain things to be different. That's also with how someone relates physically or emotionally with me. And that started to cause a big problem. And it's then basically standing by your own truth and believing in yourself that you're worthy enough of that. If this other person isn't able to meet you at that, then you have to love them and let them go. And it then takes some courage that you're going to have to go and step out into the unknown, and your whole world is turned upside down, and you're going in a completely different direction than where you thought you were heading. But deep down inside that it's the best thing for you. So it's having courage, if somebody is in that situation, to speak your truth, believe in yourself that you're worthy of what it is that you're saying. And if your partner's right for you and they are wanting to grow with you, they will meet you at that place.
I think that's the important factor here that you mentioned, is to grow with you. A lot of the issues that happen with self-development, people that go through self-development and growth realizations, is that if two people are going on this path together, one becomes higher in some level because they're touching into their inner self and they're living their life and all of that, and then the other partner gets left behind, and that causes the rift. And when that happens, usually that's the end of it. Like you're saying, you have to tell your partner, is your partner willing to accept these changes? Are they willing to go along with them? If not, I mean, you're being kind and saying, just have to love them and let them go as they just leave them. You're not happy, leave. Obviously, it's very extreme how I'm presenting it. The concept behind it is your honesty with yourself is more important. Your truth to yourself is more important. Your well-being at that stage is more important than anybody else's. And that's why I say leave, because you have to have the guts. Same thing with a job. You're in a job that you don't enjoy. And you've heard that story from our mentor. We've had it probably with us. Somebody comes, they say, you know what, I'm unhappy at my work. I don't feel that this is right for me. And well, this is me because I learned it that way and I do it that way. As a leave, quit. They're like, no, I can't quit. It's this and that. Well, then don't quit. But I can't help you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to take the steps to move forward, if you don't want to set those boundaries for yourself, nobody will. And that's what you were talking about as well, also, Nomsa, boundaries. And you mentioned it, Rachel. It's absolutely important to set these boundaries very early on, even on the second, third date, to set these boundaries straight and forward. Have a lovely time the first date and have dinner, talk about rubbish and life and colors and what sign are you and all these cute things. Second date, bang it on the floor. If you like that person, bang it on the table. Okay, here are the things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, not in that way. Please don't do it that way. You'll end up sometimes people just take things the wrong way. Just bring the subjects on board. They are important questions. How do you want us to live? Where? What kind of lifestyle do you want? What do you believe in? What are your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs? How do you want to raise children if you want to raise children? What are your goals in life? What is your dream? All of these questions matter because they're answers to whether or not you will be content in that relationship or not. And I'm not saying happy and I'm not saying successful. I'm just saying content.
Yeah, because when you see somebody, you can maybe have an attraction, but that attraction needs to go into a connection, and that connection then will form into a relationship. So you need all of those 3 points to be able, and to get to those 3 points means that you have to have a foundation where you are, your values, what you believe in, what you're looking to get out of life, what your understanding is of a fulfilling life, what's your understanding of what is, a relationship of give and take. Actually, we sometimes just assume that what we understand a word to be, the other person is also on the same page. And if you actually ask somebody, what does freedom mean to you? It can be a completely different answer to what that means for you. So, have those conversations and really understand what somebody means when they say a word that you think, oh, right, great, we're on the same page. No, just ask a question deeper and ask them, what does that actually mean? What does it look like? Explain that to me, and get inside somebody's head a little bit more. Don't just take what they're saying as, oh, well, that means it's equal to what I'm thinking, because it's
not. I mean, we all have different definitions. Yes, we have the dictionaries to tell us certain definitions of words, but we have to have a consensus on how we each define those words: love, respect, trust, honesty, all of those words. We define them individually. So I like that. That's important. Yeah. Nomsa, you're shaking your head.
I think it's important for what Rachel was saying, that when you actually meet someone, there's this, you have to connect with that person. And then after you connect with that person, you get to know them, and then you connect, and then a relationship is developed in that way. I think there are some people sometimes, I always say to my clients, sometimes they will meet someone one day and they're like, I don't want to go and date with them for the second time. I'm like, why? So sometimes they tell me something, I'm like, you have to understand that sometimes on the first date, when you go on a date with someone and you've never met, there's this thing where you're scared. There's fear, and sometimes you can't be yourself and that person can't be themselves. So give them a second chance for the second date. If you're still feeling the same thing on the second date, that means it's a no. So I'm like, if I was someone like me, if I go on a date, I'm just bonkers. I just get on with somebody. I just get to know somebody properly and just just get to know them and getting really curious to get to know them and see if there is a connection. But if it is somebody else, they just get scared, or sometimes they are like wondering, their mind goes on Googling things, or like, am I saying the right thing? So I always say, just go to the second date, and if you find you're still feeling the same way, that means it's a goodbye. That person, because when you meet someone, the first thing you ask them questions, getting to know them. It means, how am I serving you? How do you want, if I was to be your girlfriend, how do you like to be served, king or queen? And then there's this thing where now you tell me your story, then I have to relate to your story. That cannot happen on the same day. And then I have to relate to your story. After relating your story, then I have to figure out if I'm actually connecting to that story. So there's no way that it can happen in 3 hours. So I always say it's a pressure that people put themselves in. But sometimes people will be like, oh no, I don't think I can go on a second date. Have you seen the way he's dressed? I'm like, oh, okay. How is he dressed? Or they're like, have you seen, sometimes it's the eyes. He's got brown eyes. I don't like brown eyes. Or sometimes he's got, I don't like this. I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I think that's where this topic comes in, where living for yourself, it means you don't judge people, you get to know people properly. Because if you come in a place where you are not judgmental, and I can tell you myself, if I was judgmental, I would have missed in so many opportunities. The guy that helped me to develop, to actually create my business plan, when I was actually getting to know them and his family, somebody said to me, I don't think you should be friends with them. And I was like, why not? I could be friends with anyone that I want. And they're really, really nice people, nice family. And so I decided I'm just gonna be friends with them. And then one day when I said, oh, I'm thinking of starting my business, and he was like, sure, come, I'll help you, teach you to create a business plan, and with his wife. And there's so many people that I've met, and people, they're like, why would you hang out with them? So me, I just hang out with everybody, with people, as long as they actually speak my language. I don't judge anyone. And I'll find those people that when I make a decision to hang out with them, in my life, they end up playing a very, very important part in my life. So if I was to listen to someone, I will not be here where I am today just by listening to people saying, don't do this, don't do this. It's not that my ways are perfect. My ways are not perfect. So that's why when I pray, I always say, God, show me the way, because my way, it might not be right. So it is important, number one, to have your own beliefs. What do you believe? What are your beliefs that are carrying you through each and every day? And once you know your beliefs that are helping you to carry you through the day or through the year, then you can use those beliefs and just find a good person. There's only a phone book. There's one person who is a champion that will always be there, speak the truth. Like Rachel, you were saying about having the courage to be honest and speaking your own truth. there's someone out there in your phone book that is like that, has that character. I have quite a few on my phone. And even at Nkosi talk shows, I know if I need something or if I want to ask something, I need a coach. I know there's specific people that are on my speed dial. Listen, I want to do this. Are you able to help me with this? Just because I'm a coach, it doesn't mean I know everything. I don't. So it is important for our viewers that are listening to actually know that, like in Nkosi talk shows, you can have these guys as your buddies, speed dial on them, and I'm sure they will love to be your one of your coaches, or you help them out, or whenever they have problems or they want someone to coach, because we are always developing. Or if you want to give out free coaches, if I know that I have my own network, if I want to give out some free coaches, I can just put it down and say, anyone having problems with this, get in touch. So that's what our audience, but I've not seen that audience doing all that, getting in touch and taking a step saying we need help. So if you are somebody who is watching, know that you have a family at Nkosi talk shows. That family is not just to come and watch, is to take action. You have to take action and become the person that you want to become. So over to you, Rachel. I want to live my life for myself, but I'm struggling confidence-wise. I'm struggling. So what advice can you give me?
Well, I think with everything you just said, it's quite obvious that people need to get to know themselves first for them to be able to understand what it is that they do want in life. What is it they do want to achieve? What is it that they need to change to be able, in order to get that? How do they want to spend their time? Those are the kind of questions that they need to be asking themselves. They need to be through that learning and getting to know themselves better. What are their wishes? What are their desires? What choices are they wanting to, or know that if they make, will have an impact on their life for the better. And it's about giving yourself permission first and foremost, because most people maybe don't even give themselves the permission to say, hey, I need to put myself first now, because like I said earlier, we think it's egotistical. It's like, well, it's all about you. And yeah, that's just something, again, like with our labels that society has thrown out there, and we've kind of grabbed onto it, and we make that now something negative, and it's a pile of poo. Basically, you need to become your own biggest fan, your own supporter, your own coach, because nobody else is going to do it for you. There might be people out there who will encourage you and whatever, but they're not permanently in your life 24/7, but you are. So you need to become that one who's going to validate the things that you do, and you need to be brave and go and actually do the thing you desire, even if it's not very popular, and other people, it may be in your family or your friend network, sort of frown at it or think, is that really what you should be doing? It's like, that's their insecurity, that's their lack of confidence, that's whatever their issue is going on within them as to why they wouldn't do that. And maybe it's just not for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not for you. So you need to go out there and be courageous in taking steps towards something that you feel is important to you. And I think people forget, so they need to remember that they have a lot of influence with what happens in their own life. So what else? Listen to your inner voice, your heart, your intuition, whichever you want to call it. Follow your excitement, your enthusiasm, things that actually spark your curiosity. And some of those things might be unpopular to your partner. And again, that's where then you need to find, the courage within yourself that is something that it pleases you, it fulfills you. Therefore, it's something that you can do with or without the permission of your partner, in my personal how I see it anyway. And I don't think, don't overstay in your comfort zone, because the longer you stay in your comfort zone, you become stagnant and you're not growing, you're not expanding. And part of living your life is part of you finding you, more and more of you. It's like you're never ending, really. You'll continue to keep finding more of who you are till the day you cross over to the other side, shall we say. What else? Like what you mentioned about learning not to take other people's judgments or projections so personally. It's theirs. Just whatever they throw at you, hand it back. Give it back nicely. You don't need to throw it back, just give it back nicely. As in, just let it go. Don't take it on, don't carry around with it, don't mull over it. It's not yours. Put your time and your attention into things that you want to be thinking, doing, feeling, experiencing, etc. Yeah, I'll give it over to you, Kamal.
Yeah, no, I really love what you're saying, and you're mentioning everything the way that I would mention it as well, with a little bit less in it. Okay, I'm a bit too harsh sometimes. There's one thing that I would add is that that confidence will always rise from the things that deep inside you're good at. So continue. You were mentioning things that push you forward, things that you enjoy doing, whether you're partner or not, whether you're with somebody or not, doesn't really matter as long as you enjoy doing them, with obviously respect and all of that, right?
Yeah.
It's important to really push yourself to do the things you enjoy doing. You want to paint, go paint. You want to draw. You want to run, walk, hike. It doesn't have to include anybody else. You want to go to the opera, you don't have to go with people, go alone. Enjoy music alone. People tend to forget how it is to be alone. They tend to forget themselves in the cacophony that surrounds us of people and their voices. And so learn to experience things alone. I would say that. Learn to live alone for a while. I'm not saying 2 weeks, a month. I'm saying 6 months, a year, on your own. No dating, no mucking about, just you and yourself. That's it. Understand yourself like that. It might be dangerous to be alone too long, because then you understand that, well, I don't need anybody. I can live on my own. And it's addictive. I will say it personally, it's addictive being alone with when you have developed that sufficient skills and honesty and found that place where you want to be. Living alone is dangerous because you're satisfied with who you are. You're content. So be careful with that. But I strongly recommend it for anybody that has been in a relationship and that is getting out of a relationship. Stay alone. Don't go dating. Build that confidence by learning to do the things that you enjoy doing, the things that you have passion about, the things that you forgot to do, things that you enjoyed doing when you were a kid. Relive those.
Yeah, and what's coming up for me, just to reiterate also, when it comes to confidence, confidence comes from like when you have a good feeling, like something, right? So when you sit down and create your own definition of what does happiness and success look like to me, and ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? What does a fulfilling life look to me? What values are important to me? And what areas of life are important to me? Because there are some, like for me, one area of life that's important to me is my self-growth. It is my, expanding myself and growing and learning more about who I am. And when somebody else finds that, it's not even on their top 10 value list, it doesn't even come into it. It's like, that's not an area that I'm interested in at all. I'm not saying that two people have to have exactly the same interests in life, but when there is certainly when it comes to self-growth, that is going to cause a problem,
Yeah.
I believe, because one is expanding and the other one is quite happy to stay put. And I'm not saying that staying put where you are is wrong. If that's what that person needs, that's fine for them. But it's not going to gel well with somebody who wants to be doing like a lot of self-growth. So when you can know that for yourself, and you sit down and have that conversation going into a new relationship with somebody, you can ask those questions confidently, and you know the answers that you've got. So when somebody starts saying something that you think, whoa, this is very, very different to mine, and I can't relate, then you know quite quickly and early on that you don't have to actually waste time going any further into getting to know that person, because they've already given you what for them happiness and success looks like, which is a very different picture that you in your mind have painted. So that for me is really important, I think.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rachel, as well. It's very, very important to know that you and the other person, you are on the same page. There are some interests that don't destroy a relationship, they are okay, but some interests they do destroy a relationship. And also, you have to ask questions. There are some people, even now, they're still judging people based on how they look. They're like, if this person they fall in love with the looks of the person. And for me, no matter how good looking you are, it's like my spouse, when I met them, I think the girls, they used to like, oh, you are so handsome. But with me, I was like, that's not how it works. I was like, I know you're a good looking guy, but I need more. So tell me more if I need to figure out whether we are going to be a good match. So I had to ask the questions, and I could see the guy, he was like drinking, he went and asked for beer because he was like sweating, and also he had to be honest. He had to be honest, because I was coming the questions. I wasn't giving him an interview, but I was asking questions, and I could see his sweat. I was like, just chill out. Ask me questions you want to know. And because he was used to the girls, like they're all over him because of his looks. So I was like, not in Nomsa's world. That's not how we roll. If we are gonna have a long-term relationship, I've got to ask questions, and those questions are going to carry me through where I need to be, where we need to be. And I remember with him one day, he looked at me, I think that was after 2 months or 3 months, he goes, Nomsa, you're not fake, are you? I was like, why? He was like, you're just bonkers. You're just like, this is me, take it as I am. And I was like, that's how life should be. I never used to be like that. I had to explain to him that I had to work really hard to be who I am today. Because there are sometimes girls that they'll pretend to be something that they are not. So why would you pretend to a man, or men, they pretend to be something that they are not? And that's not living life to yourself. You just have to be who you are. It's like, come on, you've got 2 kids. When you meet a woman, listen, I have 2 kids. I see them on these days. Like, how many weeks do you see them a week? You tell the woman, this is how I spend my time with my children. I got to see them. And when they're sick, I'm on call. Anytime I could be called to come and see the kids. So are you able to do that? It's not that it's going to happen. I'm not saying you have to scare somebody off, but you have to be honest with that person.
Oh, but it is number one for me. It's like, you know what? You're going to get into a relationship with me. My kids are number one. You come second level. I'm sorry.
You can't say that to a woman, Kamal.
No, but I don't say it that way. But that's what we're talking about. It's that honesty. It's saying, look here, I have kids. They are number one priority.
No, you are actually the number one when it comes to kids, because they can't be number one. You are the number one is priority, because as long as you are 100%.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah, being able to look after. So you are the priority to make sure that you are healthy and you are happy, and then the kids receive that joy that Kamal has. So yeah, so it is nice for someone to actually know. It's like myself. I always say to my children, actually, before I went live, I was writing some notes that I'm writing. I've decided to get a diary to record my feelings for my children, so one day they can read it, how life is. So I'm gonna record that and put some dates. So it's like, whenever there is a struggle, I don't know when I'm gonna die. Whenever there is struggle, they can just go and open the diary and just read that diary and just see how life is, the reality of life. Because we, like what Rachel was saying, we seek approval from other people to tell us we are beautiful, we are this, we could be this amazing. But if we actually learn to actually do it ourselves and use our, like myself, I'm a Christian, I use my prayer. If you find me prayer, I'll be asking God all sorts. It's like how I stopped, Kamala was saying, and goes to talk shows, the YouTube, I basically stopped the ads on YouTube because I needed to work with the right company. And I actually wanted to see where do we need to go with the goes to talk shows. So there are some things that I'm still figuring out, not because we're going to 2023. It's just happened that is the end of the year. I've just prayed once, and then I just realized that I need to stop everything so I can find the company that can cater for Ngozi talk shows properly. But for me doing that, it means I'm going to have to do some research. I'm going to have to be patient. So those are the things that I have been doing. And when it comes to life, you have to learn to make your own choices. And that requires courage. And sometimes we want that reassurance, what tomorrow will be. If you go and listen to Ngozi Talk Show's video, Kamau says on the video, there are no guarantees for tomorrow. So it means you got to live in the now, make decisions to make you happy. If there are some things like a task you have been putting off, or working on yourself, or losing that weight, and you are like, oh, I need to hold on to dating, or I need to hold on to this, I will do it when I'm in my company does well, or when I get promotion, just get on with it. There are no guarantees for tomorrow. Just get on with it. That's all I will say. So if anyone is watching right now, Rachel, and they don't know who you are, could you please explain to our audience who you are and where they can find you as well, please?
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm Rachel G. I'm a speaker, a teacher, and a coach on inner growth, probably is more exact. I'm passionate about self-growth. I love change. It's a catalyst for growth. And I've developed a real gratitude for change and how painful transitions can really move lives in the most unexpected and beautiful ways if you're open and allowing to that. So as a result of my own personal journey, working with me as your sort of like self-growth coach, then individuals will really start to feel first, think second, and act third. They will align with their authentic expression, and they will start to really manifest more of what they truly desire into their life. I work with women mostly, but I also work with men eager to connect to their inner truth and to cultivate a loving relationship with themselves. And we do that through developing unconditional self-acceptance, resolving inner mental conflicts and emotional blocks, and really through finding their authentic voice. The people can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Rachel G Healing, also on YouTube and also on TikTok.
Thank you so much, Rachel Kamal.
All right, everyone. I think you can hear me. Yeah. Kamal Ema. I am a life purpose coach. I'm also a karate instructor, and I'm a speaker. And what I do is I help people uncover their own purpose in life with a few neurolinguistic programming techniques and the aid of ancient Egyptian methodologies. Why ancient Egyptians? Because the ancient Egyptians were one of the first and most knowledgeable people about living with purpose. How we do that through a sequence of 14 sessions where we go through step-by-step connection with your values, understanding your beliefs, breaking them down if necessary, going through a motto that you will live by, create a little bit of harmony in your life, and then we set up a roadmap for you to live with purpose. The reason why I do that is because I believe our combined existence has a greater purpose, not simply living, eating, and drinking. So in this life, it's our duty to push beyond our own limits and current capabilities, to expand and live purposefully and help others live that purpose in their turn. You can find me on Facebook, on WhatsApp. My website is kamalhamer.com. And what did I say? Facebook, Instagram, not WhatsApp. That's private. And my website. That's where you'll find me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal and Rachel. For me, I work with singles professionals. I am a love harmonist. If you are a man and single, I'm a matchmaker for men, and women are members within the agency. And if you are someone who's single and have that busy life, you don't have to worry. I do all the work for you. And all you got to do, you just have to do the work is selecting the right person, and also getting coached so you can select, you can go out and be the person that you want to be by selecting the right woman, without selecting them, looking at their boobies and thinking they are, ooh, yummy, you know what, look at her face, she's yummy, look at how she walks, she's yummy. No, we look at on the inside first. So we help you to look at what's on the inside first. And if what's on the inside matches with what's on the outside, then we are good to select, because what's on the inside of a person is greater than what's on the outside. So I just help my clients select a woman or a man that they're going to spend the rest of their lives. Whatever happens after, we don't know the future, but from the beginning, you select the right person, not because they go to the gym 7 days a week. So they might be going to the gym 7 days a week, but inside they are broken and maybe they're not a nice person. So we make you actually do the work by listening and not coming in a judgmental way, and connecting with that person, and looking at the movie that you want in the future. Like, if I was to start my business, this man, I could just tell him my dreams, my hopes, and they'll be able to listen, not telling me to shut up. That's what men do, isn't it, Kamal? A woman gets excited and you come and tell them their dreams. You're so excited and they're like, oh, will you shut up? But if you find a good man and they'll be like, wow, that sounds amazing, I want to hear more, tell me more. So men are different, they're not the same. So women are different, they're not the same. So we make you realize that there's future out there. So any words of encouragement, Rachel, before we go?
Maybe just a quick summary. So I think first and foremost, what I would recommend is care, because this was my motto in life now, and I swear by it now, is care about how you feel each and every day. Always look to be feeling the best that you can feel in whatever the situation that you're in. Focus on what matters to you. What is it that you value? Understand what it is that you value. Face your fears. And learn to value yourself as much as you value other people that are in your life, and ensure that you take alone time. sit quietly, be able to speak with your soul and ask, what is it that you need? And listen quietly. Listen to the voice of your soul or your heart, intuition, whatever rocks your boat as a word. But yeah, that's really important, because if you're constantly outside, focused outside, then the noise inside can be quite also chaotic. So you need to get away and sit quietly. That's my recommendations. Over to you, Kamal.
I will leave the listeners and viewers with a quote, as I usually do. Just for the people to know, I don't know all of these quotes by heart. I know some of them, actually a lot of them, but some of them I have to just bring them up a bit. So this one I'm reading to you because I couldn't remember it. It was by also a very important person in my life, Bruce Lee. He said, always be yourself, express yourself, have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it. That sums up a little bit more or less of what Rachel was saying. And just believe in yourself. You're there for a reason. Dig deep, you'll understand your existence is not just to, and I'm going to say it that way, to procreate and live the life that you have right now. There's much more depth to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal and Rachel. For me, I think I'm with Kamal and Rachel. Be authentic, and true authenticity will take you to a very, very long way when it comes to life. And like what Kamal said, don't try to duplicate the real you, because you get up being frustrated and not knowing who you are. Know who you are, and live that life that you believe to be true about yourself, and use your beliefs and live by them, your values and your beliefs. And don't let anyone tell you that your dreams are too big or too small. Just follow your dreams. Keep going. God bless. Live with grace, everyone. And we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. Please join us every day, Monday to Friday. And we are close to Christmas. On Thursday, we have Christmas special. So all the coaches will be together. And also Nkosi Talk Shows will love some stars. Please, we'll love to reach more people in our community, but we need some stars. Head on to Facebook page and give us some stars. See you tomorrow, everyone, and God bless.